need to find a way. If we don't have the internal capacity, then we must allow the ICC to intervene. Yes.
These capacities you're talking about, are they really absent, or they're just incompetent, or better still, not yet effective? I mean, take a look at the JTF. Would you say they're not, they're doing a bad job?
No, I think a lot needs to be done. There is no total absence of capacity, but I think what we need is the political will. For instance, you know, you cannot understand Boko Haram outside of the political and historical context that supports it. Some people have speculated that the Boko Haram didn't just emerge. They actually came as a result of some kind of political empowerment by political actors. No less a person than the vice president of the former vice president of the country, Atiku Abubakar, in an Hausa broadcasting service with the BBC, said in May, and I would like to quote him because I think this is a very important perspective that he offered. And it seems to me that if you want to deal with Boko Haram, you need to see whether, apart from the security dimension, whether there are political energizing forces. And I think that it will be interesting to just repeat his quote during the program. He said, when we formed the PDP and candidates emerged, the governors earmarked huge amounts of money to buy arms for youths so as to win them. So as to win them, so as to use them during the election. I met and told them that if they used them and after winning the election they failed to provide them with jobs, they will rise against the people in their states. These are the youths who later turned into the Niger Delta militants you've been hearing about. Also, a similar thing happened in the north. I met a governor and told him that these youths you assembled and called ECOMOG will become dangerous later. And that was what eventually happened. I spoke to all these governors. I alerted them all. End of quote. This is not speculation from the street. This is a statement made by the vice president, the former vice president, Alhaji Atiku Abubakar. So clearly there is a political context to this. And the ICCS, the International Criminal Court, cannot save us from that. All they can do is to intervene judicially. But then, if we want to eliminate this problem from the root, I think it takes these three perspectives that I mentioned. There has to be a political will to identify those who energize this insurgency. There must be a complete overhaul of our security capacity. Then there has to be a judicial capacity to dispense justice expeditiously.
Thank you very much. We will go into the depth of that in a minute, but I need to get Zaka's take on this, Zaka. You've heard what Dr. Tam George has said. What's your take on the issue? Do you have other dimension to this, or it's pretty much just about...
No, I think I'm on the other side of the screen with Doctor. You see, in as much as a country called Nigeria, we will continue to appreciate the support and the solidarity of international bodies. We need to be honest to ourselves. What is going on today, as far as whether the Boko Haram extremism or terrorism is concerned, is within the contentment. It can be contained by Nigeria politically, military, socially, and religiously. All we need is what you call collective participation of the stakeholders or the groups involved. Is very, very simple. What are we talking about here? We are talking about basic or simple terrorism. I'm not saying it is simple, but we're talking about terrorism. The first thing is this. Who is a terrorist? How does a terrorist come about? And what kind of terrorism are we even talking about? A terrorist is somebody or a group that employs the weapon of indoctrination, radicalism, and propaganda to get their recruits. And when they get that, what is their intention? They cause pain, they kill, they maim, and they destroy life, property, and national assets. But while the terrorists are doing that, their intention is to render a country lawless. After rendering a country lawless, then the next thing is to render the government powerless, toothless, and irrelevant. Then finally, they will now foster their ideology or philosophy. Then the question is this: can Nigeria as a country contain what is going on? To me, the answer is 100% yes. If Nigeria can succeed in Sierra Leone, right? If Nigeria can succeed and bring peace in Liberia, if Nigeria can go to Somalia, if Nigeria can go to Sudan, and recently in Mali, if Nigeria can succeed and bring peace in countries like that, where they didn't have a lingua franca like a pidgin English or whatever, then you tell me the same Nigerians cannot succeed in their own country?
Mr. Bala, you will also recall a lot of people would say to this matter, the statement you made, that Nigerians or the Nigerian army isn't the government of those countries. They were invited over to those countries to come and perform a certain strategy that the governments of those countries put in place. So what would you say to what he said, that the political will may be absent?
No, you see, when you solving this Boko Haram issue or extremism is very simple, but it has to be collective. This is where the true meaning of holistic approach comes in. In other words, politically, you must contribute. Militarily, you must contribute.
Does the Nigerian government have the political will in this case?
100%.
How?
There will always be fifth columnists. You will always be having betrayers. There is a saying, in fact, in my dialect, that the woman's womb has different compartments. In other words, within the same womb, you will produce a governor. You will produce an armed robber. You will produce a 419. You will produce a general. You will produce a senator. The same mother, the same father. Do you agree? And we're now talking about an entire country with different demography, cultural affiliations, right? With different approaches, different training.
So you're saying there's a certain measure of political will somewhere.
Exactly. So, and when you talk about even the collective and total approach, what we are just talking simply is this. If I'm from Borno State, right, what will be my contribution, first of all, as a citizen? What will be my contribution as a political class? What will be my contribution as a religious group? But you see, what...
Sorry, if I can come in here, I'm thinking that on the one hand, you're saying, yes, there is a political will, there is all the things
there will be total contribution.
Yes.
To make it a whole.
At the same time, when you have what we have in Nigeria, as of today, can you honestly beat your chest and say there is a political will across board? No, that's a yes or no.
The political will, when you talk about the political will, that is just one stakeholder.
Yes, but that one is a major stakeholder, because if the situation we have in Nigeria with impunity.
Let me tell you why to me it is yes.
Okay.
Because when the president, when the state of emergency was declared, from the speech of the president, right, what he gave then was not a suggestion. He gave a presidential order. A presidential order is not a suggestion, it's a directive. Go. Some people in this, as far as what he did was in national interest and to protect the sovereignty of this country, it was in order. He said some people went to somewhere and decided to bring down the flag of Nigeria. Go and raise that flag. And what he said, the directive was, within the rules of engagement, make sure you are within the ambits of the law. But go, those rascals or criminals, hunt them into their burrows, smoke them out.
Are you saying state of emergency is the only way we can
I'm just giving you an example. We're talking about political now.
All right.
Because when there are excesses, people look to their leaders to guide them. And in our own case, first of all, there was a directive from the president. As far as I'm concerned, that covers the political umbrella. But if you have people who are traitors and betrayers, that is a different thing.
Let me quickly ask you, what is the place of the judicial system in all of this before we get to the state of emergency?
Look, the judicial system is probably one part that will help in administering justice.
Does it have a larger chunk in this responsibility?
It has, but what is just supposed to happen is, by the time people are brought forward, They should be convicted. All I'm just telling you is, if Nigerians have the credentials to